Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep into the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host, Luke Lewis, and tonight I am joined by my co-host, the sneaker savant, Joseph Hooper.
What's up, everybody? No sneaker this week, but always thinking about sneakers,
Hell yeah. And rounding out our trio tonight, we have special guest, the best beard in the business, host from Respawn Aimfire, it's Adam Gumbert.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me. Two things real quick. Best
Amazing.
beard. There's a couple interesting beards in our circles. I appreciate the shout out though.
You know, gotta shout it out. It's a good look. You rock it. What can I say?
I'll take it. And then as for Joseph, I mean, you are wearing shoes now, so can you not show those off?
First of all, you exposed me. I am not wearing shoes.
Okay, all right. I'm not either. I can't talk.
I'm shoeless, sockless, and my feet are on my little dachshund rug that's in my office.
Wouldn't it be amazing if I stood up from my desk and I was wearing like a full suit? I have like loafers on, like
fully kitted.
Day at the office, even though I work from home.
So I will show us, since I'm getting bullied, I will show us shoe. This is one of my first like specialty sneakers. It says Heart, and I think the other shoe says Mind. These are Adidas Pharrell, designed by Pharrell shoes.
Those are sick, honestly. Listeners, they have like two stripes of color.
Red,
the laces on top
white.
is really slick looking too.
They're very cool, but they're also very hard to match with things, so I almost never wear them anymore. But because I just pulled them out, maybe I'll take them for a stroll. Take them to work tomorrow or something.
Clean look. Respect it. All right, y'all. How we all doing tonight? We're here for a special occasion. We're talking about open world games, something we all know and love. We love exploring. We love getting lost in vast kingdoms, cities, all that good stuff. So tonight we're going to be highlighting some of our favorite open world games of the year, some of our favorite recent open world game releases, and then make some good old speculations about the future of open world games. So the state of open world games in 2025 is the bread and butter tonight. But let's kick things off with our icebreaker question, which is, what is the best example of an open world game for you and why? Adam, as the special guest, I'll have you start things off for us.
Oh, I'm going to come out with a heavy hitter. I'm not playing around here.
Oh, shit.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Ooh-wee. Just like, first of all, what a game in general, story-wise, character-wise, love that. But that is, I think, like a pinnacle of an open world game because it is a game you can live in. You can spend so much time just doing things that don't matter and just running around. It's an interesting... So it doesn't have the problem that some open world games would have where it's like, oh, I'm in a big city, but like I don't feel like I can interact with things. Like I can't go in every building, whatever. But it's the Old West. There's not a lot of settlements, but when there is, you're like, oh, that's cool. There's like 17 buildings here, and that would be an Old West town. So that's great. And just the map is so varied. It's basically the entire like west of the Mississippi of the United States rolled into one. And again, the game's phenomenal, but the world is also very cool, very interactable. Go fishing, go hunting, go up to the mountains, go to the deserts, go to the snow-capped area. It's great. It's wonderful, and a good game to boot. So
I think on a technical level, that one hits just in every sense. And I feel like Red Dead and Rockstar games in general, which we'll talk about a lot today, I'm sure, the sense of scale and like literally like driving from point A to B and like feeling that lapse of time, or in Red Dead's case, riding your horse or whatnot, or literally climbing a mountain. Red Dead's a great pull. Do you lean 2 over 1?
Yeah.
In terms of preference?
I do. Yeah. I mean, 2 is newer, so that always helps. But it was also,
that's fair.
I like Arthur Morgan so much as a character, just like in general, like as a video game character. I think he's probably top 3 for me. So getting to play him is also great. And that's just a fun moment playing 1, because in 1, the very edge of the map is Blackwater.
Mm-hmm.
And then you play 2, and the left end of the map is Blackwater. And then eventually you go over there and you're like, oh, the entire map from the first game is here, guys. And that's a fun moment, like 50 hours in that you find out. So, I'm just a huge fan of 2.
Hell yeah. How about for you, Joseph? What comes to mind?
Well, first of all, I want to say, Dutch, what's the plan, Dutch? Just that's all I remember from Red Dead Redemption 2. Always asking Dutch what the plan was. Dutch always had some cockamamie scheme to get us in trouble. Uh, for me, it's hard not to say Elden Ring because we're talking about an immersive experience, role playing. That world just felt so seamless to me, and seamless in the way that for open world games, I'm sure we'll get into it, but there is like a sense of repetitiveness when you play some titles, some Ubisoft titles, even some very popular titles where certain missions or NPCs or whatever start to repeat, and you kind of see the video game seams of them trying to give you enough stuff to do to feel satisfied. Elden Ring honestly doesn't really have that. It seems like every time you go into a new cave, every time you go into a new area, that area has its own lore and enemies and story and objectives, and you really never know what you're going to stumble upon, which is what I love about Elden Ring. Like, it's always surprising you around every corner. Not to mention, you go into Shadow of the Erd Tree and it feels like you've just, you know, gone into a new country within the same universe. It just feels so seamless, and I don't know if I've ever been as immersed in an open world game. So I gotta give my hat to tip my hat to Elden Ring.
That was a game changer for me too in the Souls like genre, the open world format. I made it way further in Elden Ring than I ever have in any Souls game just because of that freedom and the flexibility to go in a completely different environment or find an area to farm souls and then come back to a bigger boss. And yeah, no, that's a great pick. I'm going to shout out what I consider a classic of open world games. I'm going to go with Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought about Skyrim in a hot minute, but when I think of true open world experiences, I think that was one of the first games that I ever played where that concept of like see the mountain in the distance, go to the mountain. That was like the big tagline, or encountering dragons just randomly in the environment. There's always something interesting to uncover. That was one of the first games I ever played where it was like you had a blank map and you're uncovering it as you go. And I think there's so many open world games with just so much filler where you're finding stuff or uncovering the same collectibles or going into the copy and pasted versions of the same building. But it just felt like there was such an attention to detail that made everything you picked up or interacted with in Skyrim really compelling and really interesting. And I'll shout out Claire's little brothers who still play Skyrim to this day. I think they've been playing it for 10 plus years. They're always doing different stuff. They're always finding new quests to do. They're approaching decisions, joining different guilds. Like just the scope of the game, I think is really impressive, and you can just get lost in it. And to what you were mentioning about Red Dead, Adam, just the way you can decide what to do with your time on any given play session, I think is a key pillar of open world games that's really apparent in Skyrim.
Yeah, that game has so much choice that I've played since it came out. You know, obviously very heavy when it came out, and then once in a, like every couple of years, I'll just get really into it and play it for a month. I have still never done the whole like war Jarl, that whole like I guess I don't know if it's a civil war or whatever it is. I've never done that quest line ever, and I've played that game for hundreds of hours. I've never once been like pick a side of the war and do that. Don't even know what happens there because I don't need to because there's so much to.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Well, segueing into the rest of our discussion, I'm curious. We've highlighted what we think is the best, but what are some specific like gameplay tenets that contribute to making open world games such a compelling genre? What stands out for y'all?
Um, for me, it is kind of like the world building aspect. And I guess if I'm getting more technical, maybe the map in general. When I think about like some of my favorite open world games, a lot of times they're games where you're exploring. You start in like this starter town or starter area. Like, oh, this is cool. But then that feeling of leaving that area and then walking up on a new settlement or a new area for the first time is usually like, yo, like this is kind of crazy. I think that first interaction with like a new area on the map is always a big moment of like, oh yeah, this is the scale of the world you're in, or this is the diversity of the world you're in. So I really think like a great open world game has a really definitive and iconic map that helps the player get lost in this world that's being built.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important kind of play into that is discovery. Because in essence, you could just take The Witcher 3, for example. You could just make a hallway, and then there are doors along the hallway, and you could just open the door to do the thing that are cool in The Witcher 3. But it's much cooler because you just get to live it and go out and find it on your own. Like you're like, oh, I remember, I forgot which fight it is. So there's a lot of monster like hunting stuff. I mean, that's what Geralt does, right? Randomly stumbling onto a cave where a monster hunt is, where like not just a normal dude, like a tougher monster you're supposed to find. I remember running into one of those randomly and like not being prepared at all and being like, that's cool that I could just find this thing that there's a quest line attached to and I'd have to talk to a person and yada yada. But it's like, oh, I just walked up on this invisible monster and it's like, all right, well, I just gotta either get wrecked or, wreck this guy before he gets me. And just the freedom to do that instead of just, there's nothing wrong with linear games. I think that helps with narrative, especially since it forces you to do the narrative when they want you to, but also having an option to do things when you want to makes feel, again, like you're making the choice. It feels more important because it's like, well, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to choose to do when I choose to do it. So discovering at your own pace, I think that's probably the best part of open world games is getting to do that on your own time.
Yeah, I think the flexibility of it, in a sense, like these games can be as long or as short as you want them to be, and that is a powerful thing. I think back to when I was in high school where I kind of only played open world games. If I think back to that time, like it was Far Cry, it was Skyrim, it was Red Dead, the first game, Red Faction Guerrilla, like anything that had a nice checklist and I got to blow stuff up, I was in. That was the threshold. But I think now open world games, it's almost a dirty word in some sense. I think it's making a comeback, but I think like between Xbox 360 and our current generation of consoles, especially, there was a period where folks were burnt out. We didn't want more open world games and we wanted shorter experiences. We didn't want padding or filler, but I think really well done open world games still really hit.
Yeah, 100%. I even still feel that way where I'm less tolerant of filler and padding than ever because I want the shortest experience possible to pack in like my favorite moments of a game. So that's why at this point, like for most Ubisoft open world games, I'm pretty burnt out because I kind of know the formula. And similar to what Adam was saying to me, or was saying to everybody, I guess, about the discovery, I think when you add the padding and you add some repetitive missions and like icons all over a map, it kind of takes the excitement out of the discovery. It's like, okay, I'm going to find this tower. I've already done this and I have to do it 20 more times. That was cool and novel in the first couple Assassin's Creed games. But at this point, where I have a job and I have other games I want to play, I want to be like surprised and delighted rather than kind of have random tasks filling up a map because it kind of defeats the purpose of being open world, right? Like, what's the difference between doing a, synchronous tower or whatever, in Assassin's Creed on the top left of the map versus the bottom right of the map? Like, usually not that big of a difference. So, yeah, I definitely think that some games like the Elden Rings of the world, even like the Red Dead 2s, I know the game isn't super new, but the games that are trying to push the envelope or like change up how people experience their world are the ones that are really kind of like taking the charge right now.
And kind of going off of that, this goes into open world, but also, I don't remember if you mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast or before we recorded, the like open world or open zone games. The first one that got me was, what's the second Tomb Raider one from Crystal?
Rise.
It's either Rise or Shadow. I
think Rise is 2, and then yeah.
Okay, so that game did it really interesting, where they would be linear paths, where like you'd have a set piece and you'd go through it and you'd jump and you'd slide down the hill and try to not get her impaled or whatever you would do. But then it would open into like a big area where you could go explore, do a lot of things, and then there was another linear path leading out of that once you were done with it. Which is, there are more games that are more open zone nowadays, which I think is also a very interesting way. Instead of doing the Assassin's Creed, which I like Assassin's Creed. I'm not taking shots, but it was just this massive map with a bunch of little dots on it, and you have to eventually go to them all if you want to. I think it's interesting to be like, okay, I'm going down a hallway. Here's a big circle I can go explore, and there's a lot of dots. Okay, but I can clear that. It feels more manageable to clear that out and then go through the next hallway to the next circle of stuff to do. And I think that's also an interesting way to do it. It's not truly open world, but I mean, honestly, I'm kind of into open zone because it feels open world but more manageable.
Yeah,
which is I think a good thing.
I like that we have options. That it's not just one. It has to be a 70+ hour experience. It can be something different. We get into an interesting like dichotomy with it though. Like you mentioned Witcher 3 earlier, Adam. That was a weird one for me where I loved the narrative. I thought the world was incredibly compelling. I enjoyed like side quests and the content of that game, but the world was so overwhelmingly large to me that I was turned off of that game after probably like 50 hours and I never went back to it, which is crazy considering it's like one of the best games of all time, arguably, when you're talking about like technical achievement and storytelling and all these things. But I think even as someone who loves open world games, I do hit a point where it's like, this is too much. I can't do, even if it's too much good, it's like still a lot.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is like, I think Miyazaki and the From Software team combat that pretty well by looping a lot of the map. For example, in Elden Ring or even Dark Souls games, and most Souls like do this, where a lot of the map loops in on itself. So you're kind of like aimlessly trying to explore a path, and a lot of times that path will result you spitting you out at like a different point of view for another area you've already visited. And I love things like that because it doesn't really feel like, okay, I need to explore this area. I need to go to this town, talk to every single person, pick up all the quests. It's kind of like I'm just exploring the map at my own pace. And it's just kind of spitting me out in all of these different random places. And I'm kind of like, oh, cool. This is a completely new place. How did I get here from going through this magic school or whatever? Or like, oh, this is where I started the beginning of the game at. Like, how did I fully circle back here? Um, I think that game definitely helped me kind of get like lost in it and kind of let the time seem like it was going faster than it typically was. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. I know Baldur's Gate 3 is like more open zone than open world, but Baldur's Gate 3 was that same thing. Like, at least for me, any game that has a city setting or a bunch of NPCs where you have to take quests from, sometimes it is very overwhelming to just see that you have so many quests and options and people to talk to that it's almost like paralyzing at a point where it's like, I don't know if I can spend another 40 hours trying to talk to every single person before I finish this game.
I also think about like, it's not, well, the second one technically is, but like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth, or even I'd throw Final Fantasy 16 in there, where you have all these side quests and objectives, and a chunk of them are really compelling and interesting story, but then some of them do feel like filler content to some extent. And at that point, it's like, I want my time to be respected, and if I am putting this much time into a game, I want it to be well spent. And then if I'm like paralyzed by decision, it's like, well, I don't want to pick the bad stuff, but I don't know what the bad stuff is, or not bad, but you know what I mean, like less less authentic, or
Sure.
interesting. Right on. I'm curious. Amidst this discussion, we've thrown out a couple highlights here and there, but do y'all have other standout open world titles over the years that we haven't touched on yet?
Adam, what you got for us?
I Googled just to help me remember stuff.
What are video games?
What's open world? So here's one. I don't think this is the best video game. This video game is like a 7.5 or maybe an 8 out of 10 ass video game. But Mad Max, what a way to take that world and game. Like, again, that the world of Mad Max is basically empty, and then there's little pockets of crazy people once in a while. And I really like that game. Car combat's great, but also the world is fun to explore, especially because that game is canonical to the Mad Max world, which is, it's so funny. After watching Furiosa, I tried to get Jacob to watch it. He wouldn't watch it. It was crazy.
It's always PAX East.
But, that game I find really enjoyable, and it feels very akin to the world of Mad Max. I also just a big fan of the Arkham games. I mean, especially City and Night would be the ones that were the open world ones, just because that's a power of fantasy. It's like, what if I was Batman, but I could just like go anywhere as Batman, and like
That was such
big thumbs up for
a
me.
glow up too of like Arkham Asylum was dope. It's one of my favorite games, but to go from that to City, it was just like
Crazy.
mind-blowingly cool to have that same
Mm-hmm.
level. And that one's cool because it incorporates like Metroidvania elements and you're uncovering stuff within the open world. So yeah, that's a good shout out too. Joseph, what do you got?
I got some stuff for you. I think my first open world game that I ever played was Oblivion, which is very timely because there's a remaster right around the corner. Um, and that was kind of like I didn't know anything about Oblivion. I think I just had heard people talk about how good it was or whatever. Picked it up, and that was kind of the first instance of like, yo, what the heck? This thing is like never ending. As like me playing my first open world game on the Xbox 360 or whatever. Um, Another big one for me was Fallout 3. I think Bethesda really defined a lot of my early open world experiences with like the Elder Scrolls games and then Fallout. Um, Fallout was another one where it was like really immersing me into the role playing, where it's like, yo, Nuketown, we could drop a bomb. So I save scum, tell the guy, yeah, go ahead and drop the nuke, and it actually blows up and leaves just a crater. I'm like, yo, this is insane. Now let me reload my save and do it right. Um, so like just being introduced to those games that had so many like random occurrences and something that I think we already touched on before with the discovery is that there's something I love about coming up to something or finding something and thinking, I could have missed this. There are people out there that did not see this. And it just makes me feel so special. Like, yo, this is crazy. Like, that I stumbled upon this because it makes it feel like I had some choice in the matter of finding it and like having this interaction. Um, and Fallout, uh, Oblivion, even Skyrim, all really did those things very well. So those are a couple of my OG favorites for sure.
Real quick, big shout out. I'm sure it's not the first game to do it. It's the first one that I remember it. Of Fallout 3 opening the vault and being like, okay, you left the small confines of where you were before. Welcome to an actual open world. And I think basically every
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda game has done that since and a lot of other games. But that's the first one I remember being like, oh, hey, this is big now. Like, you're not just hanging out in this little hovel in the ground. We're going to roll back the thing. You're blinded. And then here's the actual world in front of you, which again, a lot of games
Yeah.
do that nowadays. But Fallout 3, from what I can remember, was like, oh, yeah, that was the moment.
Yeah, the step out of the vault moment.
It might have also helped the age I was at because that was like one of the first games of that genre that I had ever touched. And I remember playing it, and my parents were like hanging out watching, and it was like, oh wow, Liam Neeson's here. This is crazy. And then like the vault opens, and it's just like you're just out there, and it just that sense of wonder was fucking wild. Um, I'm gonna shout out Far Cry 3, which
Ooh, yeah.
excellent game. I've kind of fallen off of the Far Cry games in years just because there's so many and they do follow that traditional Ubisoft formula. But the thing I love about Far Cry 3 is it really kicked off that, and then subsequent genres and other games were definitely inspired by that one. But the fact that you could roam the open world, specifically the hunting game mechanic, my mind was blown at the time that you're like collecting animal pelts to then craft gear upgrades and that whole loop. I just thought
Mm-hmm.
was so fun. And by the end, you just have like crazy explosive shotguns and you're like flying across the sliding down hills and doing all kinds of crazy maneuvers. Anyway, very, very fun. Um, also want to shout out Forza Horizon, that whole series, but specifically 5, I think is my favorite. I'm historically not a racing guy at all, but the way that gameplay loop functions in that game, you're constantly uncovering new cars. The world itself is so compelling to explore. I really got lost in that one. And now I like anticipate the next Forza Horizon game, which isn't somewhere I ever thought I'd be, but I think it's a really, really cool series.
Yeah, that one's one of the perfect ones where I remember playing the one before this one. I don't what was it? Forza
4.
Horizon 4. Yeah,
That was like the
The one in
England
Britain.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the one in Britain. I remember booting it up for the first time. I just got an LG TV, and it was kind of like that moment of like getting immersed in like the most casual, chill way, where you're just driving down the road, following all the road rules, and you're just kind of like just cruising. It's like, what the hell, like. I'm in Britain right now. Like, this is kind of wild, isn't it, guys? I remember I took a photo by a bridge and I sent it to my friends, being like, "Hey guys, I'm just chilling right now. Can anybody guess where I am?" And they were like immediately like, "What the hell are you doing, bro? This is a video game picture." I'm like, but it kind of looked real, right? Like, kind of looked real. So shout out to Forza for sure for helping us. It's very good at helping us indulge in that like just driving around, chilling type vibe.
I feel like we'd be remiss if we also didn't shout out Spider-Man and just like the
Of course.
evolution of Spider-Man, like even back to like Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2 up through Marvel Spider-Man 2. I love swinging around. I love that sense of wonder, and like that's like the epitome of what I want out of a video game and what I dreamed of as a kid is like Marvel Spider-Man 2 and exploring that city to the full capacity. And that's another good example of, I think, open world games having that checklist of side stuff, but it all being generally quite fun, quite worth your time, and also not too bloated. Like just the right amount of each side activity that you get a taste of everything and you still have a good time.
Honestly, with you saying that, I'm gonna Uno
Are you
reverse,
gonna
and I'm
rescind
also
your
no,
answer?
I'm gonna say also Spider-Man 2, but on the PlayStation 2.
Let's
That game
go.
was crazy as an open world game. I remember
That's
playing
a
it with my
good
buddy.
game.
We used to have sleepovers, and it just felt like the content was like never ending. Like we're delivering pizzas, we're going to the Statue of Liberty, we're chasing down Mysterio. Like we're fighting Rhino. It was kind of like for its time, like doing the little comic book thing, and like just coming off the movies and everything. Obviously, it's kind of like, yo, how is there so much content in here? It seems like I don't know how long it was in actuality. I haven't played it since then, but I just remember that open world. It just felt like I can do anything as Spider-Man. And then the real Spider-Man 2 came out, and you're like, okay, well, this is next level. So
I think that I haven't played that game, but I like to think it still holds up as like a fun time at the very
yeah,
least.
I would hope so.
We also haven't talked about, I feel like we talk a lot about Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild in this pod, but also very good within the sense of wonder and freedom and doing exactly what you want to do in any given moment.
Absolutely. Um, that's one that does have a good blend of like checklist type thingies where you go to the little towers and you have a couple different things you search for throughout the map. There's also a lot of like random moments that you'll stumble upon by accident that aren't marked. So
Hell yeah. I also want to give one more honorable mention shout out to Middle Earth Shadows of Mordor and Shadows of War. Both very good. That studio should not have been closed. It makes me sad. But the Nemesis system was real dope, and it was neat to have a really cool Lord of the Rings game of that ilk. So
Yeah, looking at these lists, it's like Warner Brothers. The one thing they're pretty decent at is making licensed games that feel like the original IP. Because a lot of those games are on, again, like we were talking about Mad Max and Batman, add Lord of the Rings to the list. And it's like, I mean, she sucks, but even Hogwarts Legacy, it's like, this reminds me of watching the movies when I was a kid and didn't know how awful she was. So, Warner Brothers is pretty good at that. One more I'll point out because we're all giving one
sure.
mores. Just because you don't have a lot of multiplayer open world games. Like there's like things like GTA 5, which had multiplayer in it, but like I don't feel like that game was built for multiplayer. But No Man's Sky, obviously the journey that game has had, but that's amazing. Like open worlds, like actually literally you're just going to planets, which is a fun time. And then Sea of Thieves, which is just what a fun hopping from island to island. The ship stuff is super fun and a great time, and having your adventures on the high seas. So those are two open world multiplayer games that I think I mean I know people like because they're still around. So obviously you can get those shout out.
Yeah, those are both good pulls. I should get back into Sea of Thieves. I played it when I got my dad an Xbox for his 60th birthday. We played for a weekend and it was very fun. Then never went back. But it was a good
beautiful.
time.
Play the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. It's super good.
Yeah, that seemed super neat. I'm a sucker for some Disney nostalgia ride or audio from the ride and all that stuff. That sounds dope. Amazing. All right, well, let's segue into talking about some recent releases, and this gets into an interesting spot. We've hinted at the open zone versus open world discussion, but we have 3 recent releases we're going to run through some impressions of. Avowed from Obsidian, which came out earlier this year, Cyberpunk 2077, which recently had the DLC Phantom Liberty in the last few years, and then Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which pseudo open world open zone. So I'm interested to get y'all's thoughts on some of these. Adam, you want to kick us off with some Avowed takes?
Avowed. Here's the thing. Love Obsidian. What a good team. I was not convinced we were going to get 2 open world games from Obsidian this year, but apparently we're going to very much get that. But that's a team that I just love, that they take the idea of like the mid 2000 or mid aughts open world game and just keep improving on it. Like Avowed is, again, that's an open zone one, but again, very Bethesda-esque, where you go around, you do things that matter to the story, and you make decisions based on what your character build and all that stuff is. But as far as the world is, it's like, yeah, it's super diverse. It's like, all right, we're going to start out in a port town, and you get to explore the port town and everything around it. Then we're going to go to like a highlands, and then we're going to a desert, and we do all that good stuff. But Avowed is a game I like very much, very enjoyable. I haven't finished it yet. I'm pretty close. But as far as open world design, that one's also, that game isn't too long. Where I think, I haven't finished it yet, but my guess on how long to beat would probably be like 30, maybe 40 for a big RPG. Can't complain. That seems pretty good to me. And I think the game's gorgeous. I like the art design. And again, give me zones with stuff to do where I can definitively finish this zone and then move on to the next area. So you will, it's a big thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I feel like based on my time, I think I'm probably like 10 hours or so into Avowed. I feel like, to our earlier points, it respects my time. It has some compelling stuff to do. Doesn't feel too overwhelming, and it strikes that balance of like, it does feel like an Xbox 360 open world game, but it does feel modernized in terms of the visuals and the aesthetic, and the combat is also stupid fun. I just really enjoy like dual wielding a magic wand and a gun, or like any random combination of things. Like, I think they really had some fun with that, so I definitely appreciate that approach.
Yeah, I think About tries really hard to respect your desire to explore, because I love hearing the shiny chest off in the distance somewhere, hunting that down. I love just kind of like finding different ways to traverse the terrain and everything. I enjoyed all of that. I haven't beat the game, by the way. I've only also probably around 10 hours. It's a good dichotomy of like what I like plus what I don't like. I like the open world. I like the combat. I don't really like the character dialogue, or like the character interactions. It feels a little too animatronic to me, in terms of, you are the chosen one, like you need to go here, which I think is definitely probably the biggest differentiating factor across some of those double to triple A open world games slash RPGs at this point, where it's like, how are you interacting with the world? Like, is the world like actively evolving with you, or really trying to show you really interesting things around every corner? Or are you in a video game type situation? Avowed is definitely a video game, but it's not a bad video game. I would even say, in some ways, I feel a little more rewarded than in Starfield at sometimes in Avowed, just because Starfield is even more of that. This is a video game because this planet is the same as that other planet you went to, and we all have the same moon base type vibe. So I think Avowed is definitely in the right track, and I think Outer Worlds 2 is going to be a lot more my speed, because I did love like the humor, space vibe in the first one, so I'm super looking forward to that.
Yeah, same boat, I think, too. I think generally I'm not a big fantasy guy. I think there are exceptions. Like, I do love Elder Scrolls. I have enjoyed my time with Avowed, but I'll take sci-fi any day. The only thing I think I disagree a little bit with your take, Joseph, about the character dialogue. I do like the companion stuff, like talking to my crew at camp and seeing what they're up to. It reminded me of like Mass Effect Normandy ship conversations. Not quite on that level, but I did enjoy that. But otherwise, like in terms of story and like moment to moment quests, and you're talking to the guy who assassinated you and this and that, I'm like, this is kind of cool, but I don't feel invested. But the combat and like the world is enough for me to be like, okay, I'm intrigued. I'm enjoying it. I think if it was longer, I might be like, I might bounce. But I think for what it is, I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's segue into Night City.
Let's
Joseph,
go.
I think you've been playing this most recently, so I'm curious to hear
Yeah.
where you're at on your supercomputer.
Yeah, so I rebooted it. I started playing it when it originally came out, and then there was too much talk of like, oh, we're gonna patch this, we're gonna patch this, we're gonna put out, something for next gen console. So I was like, I'll just wait. The time is finally now. I booted it back up a couple months ago, and now I'm back in it. I gotta say, Cyberpunk 2077, kind of a goated game once you take out all the technical bugs and whatnot. Just even playing that first couple hours over again, like I'm not a person who wants to go back and play games, but it was wild to me replaying this, being like, dang, I forgot how cool this world is. Like it very much is like they thought about almost everything and how to make this a living, breathing world. And I think the Edgerunners anime is a testament to that, where you have a completely different story that you plug in and it feels supernatural. But I just love the thing that I said about Avowed is like completely the opposite in Cyberpunk, where having some conversations with people like Dexter Deshawn and Keanu Reeves and these people from Arasaka, and just having them like move around in the setting as you talk to them. I know that traditionally, and I'm curious what you guys think about like the silent protagonist versus non-silent protagonist approach. How you feel about both approaches, but in this, it totally worked for me that my character had dialogue lines because it just added drama to the whole situation. You can smart mouth back to people. You can like de-escalate situations or escalate them, and it all just feels like one big action movie. Um, and even like the mission variety that the game has is pretty fun and exciting. The Delmain mission, where all these like different taxi cars are going haywire with different personalities, like it's just like such an exciting modern open world experience that I'm like playing it back. I'm like, dang, I forgot that CD Projekt Red kind of had the sauce. They kind of cooked on this, but unfortunately got overshadowed by the technical part.
Yeah, for sure.
That game, you're right, goated. I've beaten Cyberpunk 3 times.
Oh damn!
I adore Cyberpunk. I never had any of the technical issues. I mean, if they're there, you can't ignore that. But I never had those issues. So I beat it once when it came out. I beat it once whenever it came to next gen or current gen, I guess now, and then I beat it whenever Phantom Liberty came out. And going off of what Joseph said, what I love about this game is, like you said, it doesn't have the like stilted talking to people issue, because what Cyberpunk does is it gives you a fun open world. You do your open world stuff, a lot of varied stuff. First of all, the power curve is like, I'm a normal guy and now I'm a god, and that's what the game is for the rest of the game, which feels wonderful. It never gets old on that end. But what they do is, whenever you have a conversation or a story moment, they stop where you are, what you're doing, and they block. It's all blocked, right? So like anytime you have a conversation, it's like, okay, I'm going to sit at this bench or I'm going to look at this person. There's a light over here to make the scene more dramatic. There's a big red neon light over here, and they're walking in front of me. But it's like when they make scenes for a movie, like everything is deliberate, and they put you in a spot where like, oh, they just make the most gorgeous game with good acting, and it's like, oh, this looks amazing, because they stop you and make you enjoy that, and then you get to go out in the open world and do whatever you want. And it's like, man, they knocked out the cinematic feeling of the game, and then again, you are God from hour 2. In a neon soaked cyberpunk world, like, what are we doing here? The game's easy 10 out of 10, no problems. And then, I mean, you put Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba in it, putting more points above the 10 for me. So I love Cyberpunk. Oh man, easily one of my favorite games of all time.
I regularly think about the like flashback scene towards the beginning of the game where you play as Keanu Reeves' character and you get his pistol and you're running up to get to the top of the building. It's shooting rarely feels that cool. Like that game just oozes style in every way. And yeah, I agree that there's a lot of compelling characters, different paths you can take, all that good stuff. Yeah. I need to finish it. I should go back and play it because I think I played a little bit at launch, but I put it down in a similar way of I was playing on, I guess that would have been PS4 at the time. So I was like, I'm gonna wait, and then I started up again when Phantom Liberty came out. Started the base game on PS5, and it was like, oh, this is where they wanted it to be. This is the game they wanted to put out, and so that was really special. So I'm glad they got that like redemption arc with the release of that DLC. I feel like to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, even Phantom Liberty, man, Phantom Liberty on its own was like one of my favorite things that ever came out. They were like, hey, what if you did Mission Impossible, but you are Tom Cruise, and it's in Cyberpunk, and they nail it, dude. It's so good.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. I have a question for you guys. When I was playing Cyberpunk most recently, I was kind of thinking how incredible it was that a lot of the biggest moments are just in-game cutscenes to an extent. It's not like you're getting a crazy cinematic and interstitched between big moments. Like you are seeing characters pace around and like very lifelike facial expressions and dialogue within the game setting itself. Do you guys have any other games that have done anything similar to that? Because I'm trying to think about it, and it's kind of hard. Like, especially when we're talking open world, obviously, maybe like Naughty Dog, but even those are like cutscenes.
Those are like fully pull you out cutscenes. Yeah.
I feel like Red Dead kind of does it in moments where like you have the option to shoot somebody, or you can do a quick draw, or you can spare a life. Like it's momentary, whereas I feel like Cyberpunk is like that's the entire game in terms of like interacting with it in real time and like affecting it on a technical level. But yeah, that's a good point.
It's one I can think of. Like they cheated
to that level for sure.
Yeah, to that level. Like we're gonna cheat, no cutscenes, because we're gonna just make you sit in a cutscene, and that's the way they did it. And I can't think of anyone else who does that, especially that well.
Honestly, thinking about that and like all the effort they put into building that system for this game, I'm very, very excited about The Witcher 4 and like how those systems translate over to that game, because I think it'll be absolutely incredible.
That announcement trailer like knocked my socks off. I was really excited. Yeah, that was a cool one.
Some Witcher.
Awesome. All right, I want to segue into some Indiana Jones talk. I talked a little bit about Indy during our Game of the Year stuff, but I love this game so much. I think it really came together. I don't think it's a true open world game in a sense of some of these other titles that we're talking about, but I do feel like the open zone, open level approach to the game really works well. It gives you that childlike sense of wonder. You can explore things at your own pace. Within the stealth systems of the game, it helps you navigate open environments. You can take things at your own speed, explore, find random objects to then use in combat. Akin to similar in a way that I wouldn't call Dishonored open world, but I think it is an open approach to your playstyle. I think it lends itself to the Indiana Jones IP so well, and I just thought the game was such a blast, so I wanted to shout it out here as well.
Yeah, I like Indy a lot. I was worried because I'm like, I don't know, it's a licensed game. We'll see what it ends up being. And then I was just like, if this game's a 7 out of 10, I'll be happy because I love Indiana Jones. And the game, I think, is better than a 7 out of 10. I think game, me and you talked about that. Look, I think the game is excellent. And they do the thing right where you feel like Indiana Jones, right, in an open world. Because, like, you'll get to Egypt and you'll have like this whole cinematic moment. You'll have cutscenes. They'll show you the story. You'll come in, and then they're like, okay, now you're in Egypt, and like you just get to explore like a big dig site in Egypt, and you get to walk around and you find clues, you find tombs, and everything that Indiana Jones would do, you get to do, and it's so Indiana Jones. Like they nailed that part of it. And as an open world game, yeah, it's like it's more open zone and like go explore and find some artifacts or things that belong in a museum. But it nails being Indiana Jones so well. Yeah, I adore that game. I was very surprised. I was very happy with that game, and actually surprisingly worked as a stealth game. I was like, yeah, no, that makes. I never use a gun. I think I used it like one time just because I had it.
Yeah, I think I used it early on and then was like, forget this. But I also just appreciate it as an immersive sim too. Like there are aspects of the game that you are kind of optional. Like you can use a lighter that you have to go seek out and buy. The game doesn't go tell you to go buy a lighter that then you can use to solve different puzzles, light your torch. You can burn down Nazi propaganda and interact with the world in different ways. It's just like I appreciate when a game like gives you interesting ways to interact with it, but doesn't overtly explain itself.
But yeah, like just stumbling onto the outfits so you can get into new areas.
Like that's just so like, fun.
I'm just gonna go in this room. Oh, hey, I better pick that up. And it's like now I'm a Gestapo or whatever. What are the guys in Egypt called? The bad guys. I forget. Doesn't matter. You get the little Mauser
they're
pistol,
like SS soldiers, or what have you.
So no, that is man, what a good video game. Can't wait for that DLC.
To get on that one. I love M-Sims. Well, particularly I love Dishonored and Prey. So I'm totally down to try this one out. I'm just not the biggest Indiana Jones fan. So like, not that I'm not a big fan. I'm just indifferent. So I started the game and, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Indiana Jones. This is cool. All classic throwbacks. But it wasn't, in that moment, it wasn't enough to like make me chase down more playtime at the time. And I think this was like around the holiday, so I just got caught up in other things. But I'll absolutely give it another try based off of what you guys are saying.
I think it's really solid. I don't think if you're not into Indiana Jones, I could see someone not gelling with it. But I think if you're remotely interested in the stealth and immersive sim aspects, I do think the story and world and music is all compelling enough to definitely make it worth a play. Awesome. Nice. All right. I want to segue into, we're going to talk about the future. We've talked about the past, the present. Let's look ahead. And hopefully in the future, we're getting GTA 6. We don't know when, but let's make some predictions here. I want to check in. What are the hype levels for GTA 6? How we feeling? And when do you think this thing is coming out? We have no insider information. This is just pure speculation for the record. But if we will it into existence, feel free to credit Crossplay Conversation. Adam, what are you thinking?
Well, my uncle who works at Rockstar told me.
Amazing. Uncle Frank.
Yeah, Uncle Frank at Rockstar. So here's the thing. The interesting thing about this game is that my hype levels are like 0. But not for a bad reason. Just because I'm like, when it comes out, it's going to be phenomenal. Like, again, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I adore GTA 5.
It's a switch that you immediately turn on.
Yeah. It's like, when it comes out, I'm there. So I don't need to be hyped. I'm going to get it no matter what because they make fantastic things. So that's one of those fun things where, like, it's like the Super Bowl. It's like, that'd be cool if my team got there, but, like, I'm going to watch the Super Bowl no matter what. So when it comes, we're going to have a good time. When do I think it's coming out? Listen, they said this year. So I'm going to believe it. Because there was definitely a time, like after COVID, where like things kept getting pushed and, knocked around, for very obvious reasons. But like the last 2 or 3 years, when people say games are coming out, I say 99 times out of 100, they end up coming out. Because they were like, Spider-Man 2 this fall. And I was like, there's no way that's coming out this fall. Came out. All right, cool. Y'all proved me wrong. People are like, Death Stranding. I'm like, there's no way. It comes out in June. Okay, whatever. So Indiana Jones, like, there's no way that comes out in 2024. Y'all are crazy for saying it. Came out in December. All right, you know what? So the fact that they're telling me we're trying to get it out by fall 2025, and that's when we think we're going to hit the date, fine. I'm going to say, I'm not even looking at a calendar to look at the day. It's the last week of September. Sure, why not?
That feels like a solid guess. Joseph, where are you at?
I'm very similar on hype levels. I don't really have hype levels, but I am looking forward to the game. I think I'm most interested in like, okay, technically, how is this going to push open world games forward? Because I know it's going to in some way or another. And I'm just curious what aspect is going to blow my mind the most about this game. But GTA as a franchise, I'm like, it's cool. I had a good time with GTA 4, but It's not like I look at that as like one of my favorite games of all time. It's just a good time. It's just a great game, all around great game. So I'm excited. I think there is a little bit of propaganda going on where the GTA hype machine is just so powerful. You almost feel like you have to be hyped for it because everybody's just hyping it and talking about it like it's some, I mean, it is like $1 billion Goliath marching down the street, but at the same time, you don't tell me to be. I mean, I haven't seen anything. I'm okay with not being that excited. Um, when it comes out, I do think it's coming out this year. Um, I'm thinking late October, early November. I think traditionally Call of Duty comes out October 20th, the week of October 20th, around that time. I'm not saying that GTA is afraid of Call of Duty, but I think Rockstar strategically would probably just be like, oh, let's not even worry about it, since Call of Duty is also one of the best-selling games every year. So I'm leaning towards early November just to give themselves a little more runway while still hitting that 2025 date. And it's also perfect timing around holiday, to where like it's leading right up to Black Friday. Everybody will buy their PS5s and get a copy of GTA as well. So that's my guess.
Hell yeah, I respect it. Well, I'll take all the hype levels for the both of y'all. I'm very excited. I really enjoy Rockstar open world games, some of my favorite games of all time. I skipped school in high school for GTA 5. It was the first M-rated game I ever bought. It was sanctioned by my mom, if you're listening to this. But anyway, I played GTA. I had such a blast with it. It's a game my dad and I bonded over, ironically, but we just really loved exploring the open world and going through the crime stories. And everything they've showed of 6 just looks so epic and dialed up. I appreciate all the social commentary they're doing. I think the Vice City setting is going to be really cool in and of itself. New locations to explore, different vibes, and I also think I think the series finally having a female protagonist, huge deal. Should have happened way long ago. I'm glad it's finally happening, so I'm interested to see what they do narratively speaking with that. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm gonna plant my flag. I'm with Adam. I feel September in the air in the weather report. I'm gonna say September 19th. It's a Friday. I think that feels right.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with that.
So, I'm good. I'm just because people brought this up before. Borderlands 4 does come out September 23rd, which is also another 2K game. Is the reason I'm bringing up Borderlands 4. But also, I don't think Rockstar cares. Rockstar does what Rockstar wants to do. But I wonder if that kind of shades the idea for the parent company to be like, okay, this one's this time.
That's fair.
Do you guys want to go 2 weeks later, or take the time you need? But I don't know if that really matters because again, Rockstar literally can do. They take 10 years to make.
It's one of those things. Rockstar's going to eat everyone's lunch.
Yeah,
everyone's holding release dates until this announcement comes out, but I'm sticking with the 19th. I could be wrong, but September feels right. Maybe that's just because GTA 5 came out in September that I'm feeling
that's
that.
What I'm
but it just feels like a game that it doesn't need to come out during holiday season because I feel like they're going to want to own the moment, like release it before the holiday season and start the holiday season in September is kind of my light prediction. But yeah. Who's to say? Who's to say?
Red Dead 2, for what it's worth, again, doesn't really matter. October 26th. So I think we're in that fall
game. Okay.
I think we're going to fall no matter what. I don't think it's going to 2026 like
now,
some people think.
Follow-up question to this. When are we getting a release date announcement?
I was going to ask that same thing. Great minds, Luke. Great minds.
June. I don't know. That's the thing. They're not going to lie.
They don't need much lead up. I feel like I'm thinking a month, I don't think that maybe 2 months max.
I don't think that they're going to align, but I think they're going to be, swinging around there. Being like, oh, you guys are doing your little Summer Game Fest thing. 5 days after Summer Game Fest, tune into the Rockstar accounts because we got a big announcement for you guys. It's going to be one of those type beats where Jeff Keighley is going to be like trying to be adjacent to it, but is not really officially adjacent.
I kind of hope they do the thing where they don't announce the announcement. They're just like, Tuesday morning in July. Here you go. Take over the internet.
Unfortunately, we're past that after what happened with the original trailer and the build up that they did for that.
Well, but didn't they announce that and then someone internally leaked it? I forget exactly what happened, but like they announced they were going to put out the trailer.
And then it got leaked. So now that's what I'm saying. So yeah.
Oh, that's true.
That's my argument is that like
I see.
Their team will just be like, here's the trailer, go off.
Don't let
in one, and there won't be any lead up to it.
Okay, but then you risk the possibility of people not being prepared for the announcement and missing it, which I think in PR 2025, everybody's like, you have to see this announcement, so we're gonna tell you when this trailer for the announcement is gonna drop. But hopefully, maybe you're right.
If I put on my PR hat for Rockstar, I think they'll own the moment regardless. If I were them, I would just pick the day that's like the clearest, and then that's your day. You'll own every piece of news for that week.
When is the NBA Finals Championship?
I have no idea.
Sometime in the summer. I know. I don't actually. I mean, they haven't played the game, so they haven't scheduled
they
yet.
They drive a car onto the court.
They could just be like, game 1 of the NBA Finals. Here's GTA 6 trailer.
June. It says June.
Yeah, because I know playoffs are starting. That's why I was wondering. So it's going to be going on for like a month or two. So yeah, like they don't need to, but if they did, it'd be.
Have they ever done that before? Like tying it into an event? We're getting in the weeds, but
I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah,
I just know certain companies do. Disney's big on our trailers going on Monday Night Football because the most eyes in the world are on this, so we can do that. Again, GTA doesn't have to, but that would be cool if they did.
Yeah, true.
Agreed. Right on. I know y'all said you weren't particularly hyped, but is there any gameplay element 4-6 that would get you on this hype train that they could show in a release day trailer or reveal?
I don't want you to. So I did say I'm not hyped, but I'm like,
I know you're excited. I'm
gonna be in on this.
Yeah, sorry, I should rephrase of like, is there anything that would make you like immediately like thrilled more so than you already are?
They already showed the twerking physics, so I'm basically already there. No, I think just story stuff, because again, I'm going to play the game no matter what. I think story stuff would be really cool and just showing more of what that open world looks like. Because again, I know it's going to play great. I know what GTA is, but like seeing like what weirdos we're going to be hanging out with, or because the whole thing is they're like, Florida's a weird place, so we're going to go to Florida. And I'm just like, how crazy are we about to get? Because they can get real crazy. So I just want to see the lunacy of it. And then we kind of already assume you could play both characters, so it's not like when I was a kid where like, oh man, that'd be cool if you could fly a jet in this one. I mean, that was cool when you got to do it, but now I'm just like, I'm assuming you'll be able to fly a plane. If they did something crazy with online, would be neat, interesting. Because again, I'm already in there for the single player. Sure. But if they announced like, again, I don't think this is true, but people are like, oh, what if they, you start out just being able to do the first map, but then eventually you go back to Liberty City and online, or I don't know. They're going to do something that's going to be cool, but I want to know about the weirdos we're hanging out with, or just what the story is. My guess is that, again, based on that first trailer, is that it's a Bonnie and Clyde story, but maybe they're like doing it in a social media world. So they're like, well, we're going to go like stick up this gas station, but like we got to make sure to film it. And like people are behind them as a Bonnie and Clyde story because of social media, maybe. I don't know. They just showed a lot of Instagram Live / TikTok and then them doing stuff together. So like maybe they mix those two. I don't know. I want to know.
That's true. I think you're on the right track.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I similar to kind of what Adam was saying, like you could do so much in GTA 4 that I literally can't think of anything that would even surprise me coming out of GTA 5, just because it was almost limitless in GTA 4. I guess the one thing that would probably surprise me is if like you could go like scuba diving and like there's a whole bunch of stuff that you could do under the water or something like that, or like you can go to boat parties or something. I don't know. I think for me, the thing, like the aspect of the game I'm most excited for is like how they convey the story moments. I do feel like they might be pushing the edge on like graphics, technology, and face capture, and just like how narrative moments play out within the game universe, kind of like how we were talking about with Cyberpunk. So very curious at like what the story is going to be, how it's going to play out, how we as a player can influence the ending of that story. I was watching a Twitch clip like a couple weeks ago of somebody playing GTA 4. I don't remember almost anything about that story besides doing heists, but there was a point at the end where Franklin gets the opportunity to like kill Trevor or Michael, and the streamer I was watching chose Trevor, and they like did this whole scene where they're murdering Trevor, and the person didn't know that they could just not kill anybody. But I was like, what the hell? I do not remember this. So like,
That's wild. I don't
I'm
remember
curious.
that either.
Yeah, I'm like, what the? I was like, is this a mod? And then everybody was
No,
like,
there's an option.
no,
It's
this
kill
is-
one of them or kill the guy who's telling you to do it, so you all three are still
That's
alive.
right.
I believe
That's
is
right. That's what I
happened.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. So
makes sense.
I'm like, okay, I'm cool. I'm very excited to see where the story goes in this one because Dutch, we got a plan. I'm curious what the version of that is in this one.
For sure. I'm really curious what they're gonna do with the if you can switch characters and like how they're elevating that, because that was such a like groundbreaking thing in 5 that I feel like they have to dial it up to some extent, at least in terms of like on a technical level, or whether there's like different ways you're interacting with the world. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when they tell me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice. All right. Why don't we close out our discussion? I'd love to know what's your most anticipated open world game coming out in the next year and change. Maybe we'll leave GTA 6 out of the conversation just to keep it interesting and highlight some other stuff. But what's on your radar? Adam, if you want to kick us off.
I can do that. Again, obviously, yeah, that's the biggest one for sure. For me, I was hoping to come out this year. They'll come out next year, apparently. But I'm interested to see what this Fable reboot looks like.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Everything they've shown us look cool. I enjoy those original games a lot. And then the Playground, the developers who were making Forza Horizon, now making this. I'm just interested to see how that whole thing turns out. That's a series that has nostalgia for me. So, and I think they've taken enough time that I'm just hoping that it'll be good. Because getting back to a good Fable would be super cool. And again, they've got all the writing down and the tone and all of that. So, if they make some really cool open world gameplay with that weird British humor, like I'm super in for that. So I think that is, especially we're talking, well, there's at least another one first party wise. That's probably going to be another big deal, but that's one of my exclusive open world games that I'm looking forward to coming out.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That last cinematic trailer I thought looked really awesome. So I'm excited. Hopefully in the Summer Games Fest season, we see some gameplay, hoping some like running around doing stuff. What's on your radar, Joseph?
I mean, not coming out next year, but I already mentioned it. Witcher 4, baby. Witcher 4 is definitely like I'm locked in, loaded. Also, I'm very excited about Fable as well, but either, yeah, I mean, I guess Perfect Dark probably will not be an open world game. It'll probably be like open zone or levels. So, yeah, probably Witcher 4. I think what's interesting is like back in when the Bethesda purchase happened originally for Microsoft, I kind of was thinking about it and realizing, oh yeah, Microsoft is just gonna pretty much own almost every Western RPG open world publisher. And outside of like GTA and CD Projekt Red, it's very much true where like they're putting out all the Bethesda titles, they're putting out Fable, they're kind of owning a lot of that space at this point, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And then Obsidian too, I guess later this year, like Adam was mentioning with Outer Worlds, not Outer Wilds. I'll shout out, I think mine's probably Ghost of Yotai if that ends up coming out this year. I loved the first game. Think it looks like they're dialing it up by all accounts, but that was another one where it was a checklist game, but man, it was a good checklist, and I enjoyed that combat so much. And yeah, I'm excited to dive back into that world. And I think Sucker Punch has really come into their own with that series, and I think it's some of their best work for sure. So yeah, good stuff. I really like open world games. I think I'm gonna go play some.
I've got. Did you want some more from me?
Hit me.
Yeah.
Oh,
what do you got?
Where was? Hold on. I'm missing one. I just looked at it a second ago. I said Fable. You said Ghost of Yotei. That was the big one. I was just Googling again upcoming open world games. This one. So, Jurassic Park Survival. I don't remember where we got this first trailer at.
I do remember that.
But it is being made by Saber.
Is this the one that's kind of like Alien Isolation-esque?
Yeah, it's after the events of the first movie, and then you're a person who is stuck on the park after the other people like leave, and you're still on the park. And it's like a survival kind of a horror. I mean, not necessarily a survival horror, but it is. You're trying to survive dinosaurs on the island after everyone else left. And the thing is that like Saber, ever since they got unembraced, I've always liked Saber. Saber's always make cool games, and I like them. But especially after like Warhammer Space Marine 2 or 40K Space Marine 2, I'm like, oh yeah, Saber's really got the stuff. So letting them do a Jurassic Park, and this game is open world as well as a survival game. So I'm like, ooh, that sounds really fun. Like Saber's a good developer, as we've seen. And then I love Jurassic Park, so it seems like a pretty easy win-win for me. So
I forgot about that one. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I just found it looking at this list. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. That'll actually be really cool whenever that comes out. So,
anecdotally, speaking of Jurassic Park, Claire and I are planning our honeymoon, and we're going to Hawaii, and we're doing a tour of the ranch where they filmed some of the movies. And I'm very excited.
That tour.
Is it sick?
Kulua Ranch.
Is it cool?
It's very sick.
Yes.
Are you doing it in the ATVs or whatever?
We're debating because we saw you can do like bikes or ATV. What did you do? What do you recommend?
We did the ATVs. 10 out of 10.
Oh shit! Okay, that probably seals the deal then. That sounds really fun. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll do that, and then I'll come back and I'll play this game. So that'll be good.
Compares.
And I got one more.
Love it.
We don't know if it's an open world game. I'm assuming it will because of the developer, but Wolverine. That's the other one I had in my head. Again, we don't know because again, we haven't seen anything except for that one trailer 4 years ago. I could
see that one being kind of linear, but I guess even Ratchet and Clank even is open zone, especially now with recent releases. So
at least open zone. So for this conversation, possibly, but I love Wolverine, man. What a cool guy. He's got blades in his hand and he's angry all the time. I'm into it.
Is that coming out this year?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, I'd probably
maybe next year. Maybe.
And no like bad vibes. I just like that's when I'm just like take however much time you need. I'll play it when it's cooked and ready to go. Looks good.
We'll see that one, but I mean based on Insomniac, that one should be good. And then getting to be mature, even better.
That's a good point. Awesome. Well, this has been really fun. Adam, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can folks find you? If you want to point them to some cool content that you're doing, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me. Always fun to come on and talk. Compliment my beard more often, and I will not be upset. You can find me just at Adam Gumbert on your social media platforms. And then the podcast I do is Respawn Aim Fire, which is every week. A variety show, kind of gaming podcast, a lot of quizzes and trivia and weird stuff like that. So, and then if you're at PAX East and this episode is out already, I'll be there as well, acting a fool. That's how we do.
Love
so yeah, that's where you can find me.
Hell yeah. Joseph, you cooking up anything?
So first and foremost, I just sent you guys the picture of the Jurassic Park tour place, one of the photos we took. So we can get a little taste of what that's going to be like.
Oh my god!
In terms of
this
what I'm
photo is
cooking
incredible.
It's just absolutely wild. In terms of what I'm cooking up here, nothing. I mean, go listen to Player Pod. As always, me and Arsene are always goofing off over there. But I am going to get back into content now that I am finally switching jobs. Hooray! That whole process is over. So I don't know if I'll come out with a YouTube video, if I'll do articles. I'll let you guys know in the next episode, but I got to talk about Blueprints. I know we're going to talk about it on this podcast, but I got to talk about it even more because that game is taking over my life.
Hell yeah. We'll be ready when you do. That's awesome. All right. And I'll just shout out real quick over on Lukewarm Games. Claire and I are doing a just metric shit ton of Last of Us Season 2 coverage. We're replaying the game. If you want to get in on the action every week, we got new stuff coming out. So go check that out. I'll link it in the show. But until next time, everybody, we're going to set our statuses 2 away. But before then, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things for us. It's actually 4 things now. Give us a follow on BlueSky at Crossplay Convos. Send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts. Leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice because it really, really does help. And please give us a follow on YouTube for the video versions of the pod. Until next time, go explore that open world.
See you later.